Hello y'all! This video is going to be about order of operations, and so it quite naturally fits with the learning goal. I can correctly apply order of operations. So what are order of operations? Well, order of operations tell you what order to do the different operations in a problem in. And the reason we have that is because if everybody just did operations in whatever order they wanted, people would get different answers to the same problems. And so we have an order that everybody follows in math, and that way we all get the same answers to our problems. That makes it a better communication tool. Some of you may have seen or heard of the acronym PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S. Or you might have seen or heard of the little mnemonic, "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." And that kind of helps us remember the order that we're supposed to do things in. However, when we think of this PEMDAS or "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally," it causes us problems sometimes. We need to be careful when we're thinking about order of operations and realize that it's not multiplication and then division, addition and then subtraction, which is sometimes what we think when we think of PEMDAS or "Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally." What we're actually going to do first is grouping symbols, so parentheses or anything else that counts as a grouping symbol, and there are some others. Exponents, although we're not going to be talking about those for this lesson. And then we do multiplication or division, whichever comes first from left to right. If there are more than one multiplication and division in a problem, we're just going to go from left to right. So if there's a division that comes left of a multiplication problem, we do that first. We just move from left to right, doing all the multiplication and division in that order. And then the same thing for addition and subtraction. We're going to go from left to right. So if there's a subtraction problem that comes before an addition problem moving left to right, we'll do that first. It doesn't matter. You just do all your additions and subtractions in order from left to right. So let's look at these two example problems and think about how our order of operations tell us to do these problems. So remember, my very first step is grouping symbols. And in this case, I do have some grouping symbols if I look at the problem on the left. So I'm going to divide this down the middle, and I'm going to look over here and I see I'm going to do what's inside my parentheses first. So I'm just going to rewrite the problem solving the part that's inside the parentheses. So I'm going to write this as 9 plus 3 times 2. 7 minus 5 is 2. Okay, so now I've done my grouping symbols. There aren't any others, so I need to move on to my next step in order of operations, which is exponents. And again, we're not going to have any of those in this lesson, so there aren't any. Next is multiplication or division, moving from left to right. This problem does have a multiplication problem in it, so I'm going to do that multiplication problem first. So I'm going to continue to rewrite my problem. 9 plus does not change. Now I do my multiplication. 3 times 2 is 6. And now all I'm left with is an addition problem, so finally I will do that and be left with 15. When you do these order of operations problems, it's really important to continue to rewrite the problem. It may seem like a lot of work, but you'll get less confused if you go ahead and do it that way. Now for the problem on the right, there are no parentheses, so I don't have to worry about any grouping symbols at this point, and there are no exponents. So now I'm moving again to multiplication or division, whichever comes first from left to right. And I look, and there is a multiplication problem. So I'm going to go ahead and do that multiplication problem right there in the middle of the problem, rewriting the rest of it around it. So I will write 9 plus 3 times 7 is 21 minus 5. Okay, now I have my last step, which is addition and subtraction, whichever comes first from left to right. In this case, my addition comes first, moving left to right. So I'm going to do 9 plus 21, which is 30. And then I'm writing minus 5. 30 minus 5 is 25. So without those parentheses, I get a different answer than I did with the parentheses. So doing the problem in a different order does make a difference in the answer that I get. Here's another example. You're making fruit salad for a party and need to buy half a pound of bananas for 89 cents per pound and 2 apples for 37 cents each. How much will the fruit cost? All right, so I'm going to buy half a pound of bananas for 89 cents per pound, and I'm going to buy 2 apples that are 37 cents each. And I want to know how much my fruit is going to cost. So I'm going to write this as half a pound is 0.5. And since the bananas cost 89 cents per pound, and I also have that word of in there, that tells me to multiply. So I'm going to do 0.5 times 0.89. That will give me the cost of my bananas. I'm going to add that to the cost of the apples. And those are I'm buying 2 apples, and I'm going to multiply that by the cost for each apple, which is 37 cents. So now I have this expression that will tell me the cost of my fruit. So I'm going to do 0.5 times 0.89. Don't know that one off the top of my head, so I'm going to quick multiply that out. 0.89 times 5, I do 9 times 5 is 45, carry the 4, I can make a 4. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 4 is 44, and I have 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal point, so I need to have 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal point, so I'll put my decimal point right there. Now that 3 numbers after the decimal point doesn't work for money, so I'm going to round that, and that is about, let's see, 45 cents. Okay? So the cost of the bananas is going to be about 45 cents. Cheap. All right, and then I'm going to take 37 times 2. 7 times 2 is 14. Carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. And I have 2 places after the decimal point, so that means my decimal point goes right there. So I've done both of these multiplications first. I figured out the cost of the bananas, I figured out the cost of the apples. Now I'm going to add those together. And that makes sense in this situation, but I'm also following order of operations. So this was 45 cents plus 74 cents. So when I add these up, I'm going to line up my decimal points like I do when I'm adding decimals. And I'm going to do 5 plus 4 is 9, and 4 plus 7 is 11. Carry my 1 over to here, and bring my decimal point down right where it was. So I'm going to be spending $1.19 on fruit for my fruit salad. So remember, this is your order of operations. You may want to write this down, and if you can think of a cool way of remembering this, including the E probably, that's not please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, that makes it so you remember that multiplication and division go together and addition and subtraction go together, I would love to hear it. I was not able to come up with an awesome mnemonic this weekend, so I'm just leaving it at that. We start with grouping symbols, then we have exponents, multiplication and division going from left to right, and then addition and subtraction going from left to right. And here's your free response question. Go ahead and pause the video. And here's your multiple choice question. And you should probably pause the video again and work that out.